What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of my Minecraft World 2022 survival series. And you guessed it, today I'm going to be filling in the greenhouse and, of course, sharing some of my favorite decorating tips along the way. If you want to see how I built the greenhouse, check out episode 3 for a block by block build, and then come back and watch me decorate it. Let's go! Getting started, I wanted to give you guys a top-down view of my planning process inside this build. The first step for me was to lay out the pathway. I knew I wanted a water feature in the middle, so I left a spot for that. Originally, it was off-center and a little too large, so I made it smaller, but I didn't like that either, so I decided to just think on that and keep working. So I went ahead and started on the shelving. I'm using jungle wood for the interior, mainly so that the dark oak doesn't look too overplayed, because I've used it in literally every build in this agricultural area so far. I wanted to mix up the type of shelving, so you'll see that I first used overturned stairs, then slabs, and finished it up with some trapdoors. I personally only like to use a couple types of trapdoors for tables like this because most of them don't fit the look I'm going for. After finishing the shelving, I decided to come back to that water feature. Moose used an in-ground aquarium in her home build that I really liked, so I'm stealing that for this build. I end up putting axolotls in the water, but fun fact, they typically like waters to be around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, so you probably won't actually find them in warmer greenhouses like this. I'm using a combination of cobblestone, stone, andesite, and stone bricks to give this feature a little depth. I'm also using glowstone for lighting to ensure that no drowns spawn. I went ahead and used sand at the bottom here, and I filled up the water layer by layer so I didn't have to worry about any of my fish or axolotls drowning. Then I went ahead and threw some seagrass and kelp and topped it off with glass. I decided that if I was somebody coming to enjoy this greenhouse, I would want somewhere to chill, read, and enjoy the view. This cute little bench was the perfect solution. It's just a couple of wood stairs and some signs on either side to give the illusion of being a seat. I had previously added a few pots to the shelves I made, but I wanted to add some additional items that just made sense. Here I threw down 2 item frames, and I'm filling one with kelp and the other with a pair of shears. Every gardener worth their salt has a pair of clippers on hand. I also needed some storage and I didn't want to use barrels, so what I did is threw down a double chest and covered it with some more trapdoors. This worked really well and it looks like storage containers. All you have to do is open that top trapdoor to access the double chest. On the left side, I began setting up a space that I would be using to store my bee nests. I set campfires down 1 block and covered each with moss carpeting. You could also just put the nest directly on top of the campfire so you don't see the smoke. I began adding the smaller flowers throughout the middle and the taller ones along the walls. In the space between the aquarium and the nests on the left, I wanted to add a small tree. I'm using jungle fencing and acacia leaves for this because I haven't used them anywhere else in this area. It just seemed a bit more rare and a little unique to have something like that in the greenhouse. Fun fact, and I didn't realize this, but if you break the leaves, there's a chance you're going to get a flowering or just regular azalea bush. Who knew? Now that we had structurally finished laying everything out, it was time to add some of the last decorating touches. Here I'm adding vines to the walls, I'm texturing the path, texturing the grass, I'm adding moss carpet on top of the grass to give it a little bit more movement to the flat normal Minecraft look. Then I went ahead and finally added my bees. I waited until last minute to add my bees because I didn't want to have to move them, especially the ones along the walls and the top and bottom and on the right that I wasn't going to be putting campfires underneath. The last couple of things that I added were lanterns to kind of pull it in. I'm using lanterns throughout this entire agricultural build. At the top, I'm using these spore blossoms. I love the lively effect and everything that it's adding to it. Speaking of lively effects, make sure you follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/PhoenixBelle to see me live. I go live every Monday with Minecraft for our Minecraft Mondays, and I build a ton of different farms. So come by, hang out, chill, chat, and I can't wait to see you there. In the build, I also added some moss and azalea bushes to tie everything together. On the outside, I had vine coming up the left, going over the top, and going down to the back. When you're adding vines like this to a build, you want them to make sense, so you want them to be connected. If you just just have a splotch here and a splotch there, it's not going to work and it doesn't make sense. So I have it looping over the top on the left, and then I'm going to bring it around the back to the front right as well. It's a little hard to see, but on the inside I'm adding glowberry vines to come down. The top seemed very, very empty, though the bottom was filled with flowers and beehives. So I wanted to make sure that everything looked really full and cozy. Now that the inside was complete, it was time to start working on the outside. I wrapped up the vines that came across and I really loved how that looked. It looked super natural, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do about the grass or the entryway. I just have this flat stone look, so I was going to leave it for now. Like everything else, I figured I would just wing it and come back to it when I actually had an idea. On the sides for that walkway, I've lined it with moss for hedges, and then on top of the grass, I added stone pressure plates to make it look like it was stone purposefully placed there. On the right, I'm adding another small tree. I was a little wary of adding another large tree since I had already added a large tree and fountain to the left with a nice little sitting area. So here I'm using the jungle fencing again with just some regular oak leaves and surrounding the base with red and orange tulips. I'm using the red and orange throughout the entire build for the phoenix look. I'm creating a small little moat using stairs made of stone blocks, and andesite mixed with some moss to make it look used and worn. I really wanted it to seem as if this build had been here from day one. I want this to look like it was one of the first pieces. I went through and added water so that we would have another water feature, and I kind of played around with the size. Last but not least, I wanted to go through and bone meal the grass to give it a more natural look, and of course I had to go through and wrangle some bees. Thank you for hanging out as you watched me fill in our greenhouse. I absolutely love the way this turned out. Make sure you follow me on Twitch and hit that like and subscribe down at the bottom to see all of the new content in our World 2022 survival series. Until next time, stay happy and stay healthy.